So here we're going to talk about solving exponential equations. We've got a few examples we're going to run through. So this is going to be our title, but let's talk about what each parts of this exponential equation mean. Now, most of the time, this a is the starting value. Whenever you're solving an exponential equation, that number there is the starting value. That's also going to be the y-intercept if you graph it. The b is your multiplier, we call that. And sometimes that's in the form of a percent growth or decay. Sometimes it's just a multiplier like doubling. B would be 2. If it's like a 4% increase in interest, it'd be 1.04 would be the multiplier. If it's a 4% decrease, it'd be a 0.96. You do 1 plus or minus that percent. And then x is typically the amount of time. It could be other things, but typically it's how many years or how many months or minutes or whatever the time is for that. And then y is the ending value. So what we're going to do in this video is one of these 4 pieces is going to be missing, and we're going to solve for that piece. So our first example is over here, and we're going to solve for y. This is, without a doubt, the easiest of the 4. And so all we do here is we just type this into our calculator. The y is the only thing that's missing. All the other stuff is known. So we'll just type in 100 times 1.04 to the 12th. So here we go. 100 times 1.04 to the 12th. And we get 160.10. So for this one, pretty straightforward. Y equals 160.10. All right, so that's solving for y. Our next easiest, which is a pretty sizable step up from that one, is solving for a. And this one, what we're going to do is we are going to evaluate this stuff right here. So 1/3 to the 4th is just a number. We can figure that out in our calculator, and then we'll divide both sides by that. So let's do that. 1/3 to the 4th. 1 divided by 3. Now, I got to be careful here. I need to put this in parentheses. Otherwise, it'll just do 3 to the 4th. So I got to insert parentheses 1/3 to the 4th. So that's 0.1234567 which I'm guessing it's rounded. So we get 243. Oops. Let's go to the pen. 243 equals a times 0.12345 and so on. And then I'm going to divide both sides by that. And let's see what we get. Let's grab our calculator. 243 divided by that previous number, and that's 196.83. All right, so A is 196.83. 19,683. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay, so evaluate that stuff, divide it. Since this is, I kind of skimmed over this, but this is A times 1/3 to the 4th, and so that's why we divide it by that, since it's a times 1/3 to the 4th. All right, now we're going to look at what if we solve for b. So I've got 2 examples here for solving for b. One is just a simple exponential growth situation. The other is a growth by a percent. That's the second one. So this one is growth or decay by a percent. We're going to figure out that percent rate, which we call R. So let's look at the solving for B1. This is 64 times b to the 6th. And so my first step is going to be divide by 64. And so 729 divided by 64. I get 11.390625. Now I'm going to turn that into a fraction. And what do we get? That's 729 over 64. So let's just leave it like that for now. And then we'll decimalize it later. Now, there are a couple different ways we can go. We're going to do two different options. So I'm going to say, here's part A on how to solve it, and then we'll do part B. Let me grab purple. So for part A, what we're going to do is I'm going to rewrite it, 729 over 64 equals b to the 6th. If we want to cancel out the 6th power, we can take both sides to the 1/6 power. One thing we learned is that when you have an exponent to an exponent, you multiply those, and 6 times 1/6 is just 1. So that turns into b equals, and then we do 729 over 64 to the 1/6. So I'll be honest, this is probably my recommended way of doing it. Part B is maybe the way that will make a little bit more sense, but I feel like part A or option A is a little bit easier. So 729 over 64 to the 1/6. So I'm going to take that previous answer and take it to the 1/6 power, and I get 1.5. Okay, so B is 1.5. All right, so option B on how to solve this is if we have 729 over 64 is b to the 6th. I don't like that b. It's better. No, I don't like the 6. Slow down. Okay. So the other way that you can think about this is if this was b squared, you would square root. So if it's b to the 6th, use 6th root both sides. Now, it's the same thing. The 6th root is the same as the 1/6 power. It's just another way of writing it. So I know it's going to be 1.5, but how do we type that in our calculator? So if you like the root option, option B, then I'll show you how to type that in your calculator. If you like the fraction exponent option, option A, then I already showed you that one. So let's look at 6th root. If we hit math, if you notice, number 5 is root x value. So if you hit that, that's not going to do it for you. What you have to do first is if you want to do the 6th root, I'm going to clear this out. You have to type 6 first. And then you go to math, and then it'd be the 5th option. And then you just type in your 729 over 64. And that's 1.5. So if you want to do the 6th root, you have to type 6 first, then hit math, and then it's the 5th option down, x square root. So if I did that of 100,000, that would be 6.81. Okay. All right, so that's that one. So that's solving for B in that regard. Now, what if we had this one where it's solving for a percent? Kind of the same steps. What we're going to do is, this is 600 times 1 plus r to the 14th. I'm going to divide by 600. And I get 186.72 divided by 600. And I get 0.3112. And that equals 1 plus r to the 14th. So we are going to cancel out that 14th power by doing the 1/14th power or the 14th root. However you like doing it, they're the same thing. So I'm going to take that number to the 1/14th power, and I get 0.92000 equals 1 plus r. Then I'm going to subtract 1, and I get negative 0.08 equals r. So our rate is an 8% decay in this situation. But same steps. Divide by that initial value, the 600, take the 14th root, or the 1/14th power, however you do it, and then subtract 1. Okay, the last one is solving for x. What if we have x is an exponent? What we're going to do is we've got 128 times 5 halves to the x. I'm going to divide both sides by 128. And I get, I'm just going to leave it as a fraction for now, 78125 divided by 128. And this is 5 over 2 to the x. And now, if I want to solve this, like we did in the other solving for x in the exponent video, we're going to take the log of both sides. So this becomes the log of 78125 over 128 equals the log of 5 over 2 to the x. And then we take this exponent, we pull it out in front, and we have log of 78125 over 128 equals x times log of 5 over 2. And then I divide by log of 5 halves on both sides. So I got to type all of this stuff in my calculator to give me x. All right, let's do it. Log of 78125 over log, or over 128. And then divide it by, what was it, log of 5 halves. Oops, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Log of 5 halves. And we get 7. Look at that. That worked out nicely. So x equals 7. Okay, so let's recap here. If x is in the exponent like it was in this one, you have to get the exponent part isolated. So we had 5 over 2 to the x isolated by dividing by 128. And then we did the log of both sides, did some algebra, solve for x, and we got 7. If we have, we're solving for b, we're going to do the 6th root or 14th root or whatever we have after we get that isolated. If we're solving for a, you just divide by the stuff that you're multiplying by a. And if you're solving for y, just punch it in your calculator. So those are the 4 different options when you're solving an exponential equation. And those are the 4 different possible ways that you could solve it when one of the things is missing.